Welcome back to Shem's Universe. So today, guys, I just want to go over a brief video about enemy years. And the thing is that there's a lot of secrets kept amongst the numerology and astrology space when it comes to enemy years that people are not discussing that needs to be discussed. And there's 3 layers to enemy years that you guys should actually know about that nobody I see is really discussing that much online right now. Cheers. The first one, which everybody should know about, most blatant obvious one that's gone viral because of GG33 and everybody else, is of course the Chinese zodiac enemy year. I have an interesting opinion on that because even these other astrologers will agree with me when they say your numerology can still dictate how your enemy year will go. Meaning, the gatekeeping that these guys are doing is this. If you have a Chinese zodiac enemy year, let's say you're a dog like me. We're in a dragon year. Woo, so scared. If you are a life path 8, then your enemy year in a 2024 8 universal year is just fine. I've made more money than I've ever made in my life. I've got more subscribers. Everything has gone up. Got new car, got new clothes. So everything's been really good. It's been actually one of the best years of my life by far. Partied more, everything. So when people say, oh, be scared of your Chinese zodiac enemy year, that's I wouldn't say it's blatant garbage, but you need to understand there's other layers to an enemy year that are going to make it a very dangerous enemy year for you. Now, when I look, my next enemy year would be 2036 for Chinese zodiac, which would be an 11 year. Again, I would think that year might be a little worse than this one for me because I'm an 8 and then I'm going in an 11 year where I have different risks associated with it. I don't have that numerological compatibility that I have right now with the universal year. So that's what you have to understand, guys, is that your Chinese zodiac enemy year is something you should definitely watch out for. I'm not going to disbar these other guys that are saying that, but they're gatekeeping too much information from you. What they're gatekeeping is the fact that your numerology life path will dictate how that year will go. If you have cohesion within your numerology life path and the universal year, then you might very well still have a very good year. If there's a disparagement, meaning it's inimical to one another, meaning like you have, let's say your life path 8 like me, and then your enemy year hits, and it's also like a 1 year. Then you're in more problems because you have 8 and 1, which is like darkness versus light, and then you have your Chinese zodiacs, which are in opposition as well. Then you got to be very careful. You got to be very disciplined. You got to be very fortifying the mind. Protect yourself by fortifying your body as well, and making sure your financial assets are in place. That's a very different scenario. So I want to break this down for you guys. I'm using myself as an example. I'm not going to do that anymore. Let's get this done to layers. When you're looking at this from a professional standpoint, this is how you have to look at an enemy year. 1, do I have numerological compatibility with the universal year via my life path? 2, does my Chinese zodiac, is it in opposition? Because you can have a separate enemy year, right? You can have an enemy year where it's just like, I would consider a more dangerous year for me, 2026, in comparison to right now. Because the 1 year can affect me a lot worse because it's my direct enemy as an 8. Whereas the the dragon year, like I'm sorry, but it's not going to do much because numerology supersedes astrology anyways. So these guys give you little bits and pieces, but they're not giving you the whole picture. The whole picture is that you need to have your numerology in opposition with your Chinese zodiacs being in opposition to actually even see any bad results from an enemy year. If you don't have that, then you're going to be just fine. Most people, when I talked about enemy years with numerological compatibility, especially when I talked about like 3s and 6s, a lot of 6s were like, oh, 2019 wasn't a good year for me. And 3s were like, oh, 2022 was a shit year for me. They understand how that works. They understand it completely. They realize that, okay, my numerological compatibility with a year dictates more of how that year is going to go more than anything else. And then you also have to look at your transits. How is your ascendant doing that year? Do you have a good financial prosperity that year? Do you have good health, family relations? All of these different facets are still going to fall in line as well. So you can have a friendly year. Let's say I'm a dog in a dog year, which is in the next few years. Cool. But how's my transit? I'm a Virgo rising. How is the transit for that? Is it good? Is it bad? That's going to matter a lot more than me being in my own dog year. It could still go very bad. That's why they'll say, oh, you can have high risks even in your own sign. Duh, because your numerology could be bad and your transits could be bad. So it's 3 layers that you have to look at when you're looking at each year for how to forecast it. Your numerological compatibility with that said year, your Chinese zodiac compatibility, and then your rising sign transit. Don't use your sun sign, your rising sign transit. How is that operating in that given year? If those 3 things fall in line, they're all good, then you're definitely going to have a good year. How do I put this? If the numerology is in place and the other 2 aren't the best, you still have a good chance, to be honest with you, because your numerology matters the most out of all of them. Your real enemy year is your numerology enemy year, not your Chinese, right? So then you have the Chinese zodiac enemy year. If you have good transit that year and good numerology, you're just fine. That's like me this year. I'm just fine, completely happy, completely content. We can wait till January 29th when the dragon year ends. I'm not going to take this back. I'll be completely fine. 2012 was my last enemy year. That was a 5-year dragon year. That was one of the best years of my life. Again, made a lot of money. Again, nothing bad happened to me. Nothing affected me in the next 10 years after. It was a beautiful year. But again, that was my expression number. I have an expression number 5. It was a 5-year. It's completely fine. Nothing happened. 8 and 5 get along anyways. 5 is compatible with every single number. So universally, I was completely good to go. So you guys have to analyze it from that perspective. I'm using myself as an example so you can say, okay, my name is Peter, my name is Ann, my name is whoever. How does that apply to me? How do I use this to my advantage? How do I say, okay, my life path number has compatibility with the year. So even if it's an enemy year for me in Chinese, I might be just fine. Maybe I should just get a transit report to make sure that I know how to navigate through that said year. As a professional, this is what I would do. I would look at the numerology compatibility. I would then make sure that my transit's intact, meaning I know how to navigate that said year. So even if I have a Chinese enemy year, which I did this year, I knew exactly how to navigate it. I knew when to start doing full videos. I knew when to be safe with my investments. I knew when to not take risks. It's very easy because there's glitches for everything. Astrology and numerology has given us complete glitches for how to live our lives, but we don't want to follow these very simplistic rules and just understand compatibility and right times to do things. If you do everything within season based off your transit report, you cannot fail in life. It's when you actually go off course, go off the grid, and start doing your own thing is when you start losing. So you can have a very dominant year in your enemy year, but you have to know exactly how to incorporate other facets of numerology and astrology to make sure that happens. All right? So this is a short video today, guys. If you have any questions for me whatsoever, just leave in the comment section. Aside from that, guys, please like, subscribe, holla at me. It's it for today, guys. Peace.